There will always be people who attack your criticism, but don't worry about them. Just do criticism for the sake of enjoying it. And I know I've just attacked people who are criticising critics, so I have sort of criticised them. So we're in a situation where I've criticised a critic of a critic who, of course, are criticising filmmakers, and they in turn might be critical of that critic. But that argument does make logical sense, so you're just going to have to watch it back a couple of times and remember that I nearly have a master's degree, so it is genius. It is from the mouth of a genius.
You know, when we used to watch films when we were kids, we never used to, you know, read reviews or anything like that. Half the fun of going to see the film was, is it going to be a steaming pile of shit, or is it going to be the best film I've ever seen? Biggest user, or one of the biggest users I know of reviews. So if I'm in a game shop, if I'm looking at a DVD, first thing I do, IMDb. You know, what ratings has it got? But again, that's more user review orientated, so it's a bit more reliable. I can't stand Paul Ross. I think he's an absolute germ. The bloke has absolutely no taste, no real opinion on films, and will say anything at all needed to, you know, get himself a bit of attention.
Paul Ross!
Who's Paul Ross?
That's a good one. Who's Paul Ross?
No, seriously, who's Paul Ross?
The bloke goes on national TV in front of millions of viewers and turns around and says, right, Scorpion King, one of the best action film you'll ever see. In fact, not only that, but it makes it better as a trilogy. The Mummy trilogy is better as a trilogy than Indiana Jones. Get your head around that.
Paul Ross.
Who is he?
He's Paul Ross.
And who's that?
Paul Ross.
Say it again.
Paul Ross.
Ross? Paul Ross?
Yes. There. That Paul Ross.
Now you can tell ITV to take their £7 million a year deal and their golden handcuffs and to stick them where the sun does not...
You've seen Twins with Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger, and although it's all happy at the end, you can kind of see the little, like, dark undertone for it with Danny DeVito. That's what Paul Ross is. Paul Ross is basically Afterbirth. He's the leftover bits that nobody wanted. Somebody just glued together and then just went, we'll put him on GMTV.
Good evening. I'm Paul Ross. Are your windows bolted? Are your doors locked? Let's hope so, because I'm about to open my big black book of horror.
You've got reviews like, for example, Con Air.
After serving the last of his sentence, Cameron Poe is taking the first plane home to his wife and daughter.
Barry Norman's Turkey of the Year, when it came out, absolutely hated the film, couldn't stand it, thought it was cheesy. Now, at the time, that review probably held up, but when you watch the film now, you can see all the holes in it. You know, the cast is stellar, it's a stellar cast.
Nicolas Cage, John Cusack, John Malkovich.
Where are they going to land this thing? How do you feel about the blackjack tables?
On June 6th. Buckle up. Con Air.
A lot of pieces in that film don't fit, but for a no-brain action movie where you give the fans what you want, brilliant film. You know, so, you know, are reviews important? Yes. Do their reviews stand the test of time? More often than not, no.
Today we shall be discussing web videos. Is that meta or what? You can be a bit more honest, because you're not going to edit everything you say. You're not going to go back and think, ooh, I shouldn't have said that, I need to change everything. People make mistakes. People say things they wouldn't necessarily say in an article. You can also be a bit more imaginative with web videos, because you could have stars popping up, you could have effects, you could have sound effects, you could use a different format. You never know. Anything could happen in a web video. Suddenly, I grow a unicorn horn. Some web videos, like the Twilight Girl, who went a bit mental about Kirsten Stewart and Robert Pattinson.
Kristen's released a statement admitting to it and saying that she actually did cheat on him. And saying that she's sorry, like that makes it okay. Why? Why would you cheat on Robert Pattinson? What's the point of that? What do you stand to achieve by cheating on Robert Pattinson? You wouldn't walk into a shop and ask the sales assistant, hey, when was the last time you crapped? You leave them alone. You fucking leave them alone.
She just went mental. But, also, that's where I start with my negatives. People like her, should they really be trusted with technology like this? You know, you don't also need to get a special microphone or a special camera when it comes to writing. You just need your hands, you know, and at the very least, if you've got a bad article, someone might be able to improve it for you. No one can change my voice, and no one can really make me look any prettier. I am naturally beautiful. It just happens. But I don't care. I've got my Alex Ross drawn covers. I'll see you soon.
Where I stand on criticism against science fiction, that a lot of it is, you know, requires you to suspend your disbelief and believe in a world that's, you know, totally alien to our own. And I think that's where a lot of people fall foul of science fiction, is that, you know, it's try as they might. I mean, it's a lot easier to find yourself believing in, you know, Travis Bickle or Patrick Bateman. I mean, I can easily imagine myself as a psychopathic serial killer. I think it's a lot harder to try and, you know, envision yourself being in outer space or zombies attacking the Earth or whatnot.
It's a trap.
Captain Dylan Hunt and his crew battle, but in the face of destruction, Hunt orders his crew to abandon ship and attempts to hide his starship in a black hole.
I think a lot of really good science fiction is based on, you know, the premise that, you know, either humanity can be better or worse than it is. I mean, some of the really great stuff, I mean, like Star Trek, is Gene Roddenberry's vision is that, you know, humanity can put aside things like intolerance and, you know, conquer things like disease and war and go on and be a lot better than they are. So the very best science fiction is also the complete opposite of that, where things like The Matrix and Terminator, where we create things that are generally, you know, not like that at all. I mean, just end up turning out and destroying us, basically. So I think, you know, on the two ends of the scale, I mean, there's room for some very, very, very good material, but I mean, there's also room for some very shoddily made shit, basically. I mean, I struggle to think of real examples of absolute tripe, but I mean, there's definitely some very low budget, very, very poorly acted things that are just in general, you know, very, very, really lower the bar. And then there is some really great things that's very well made and very well acted, like Battlestar Galactica, the remake, that is, not the original. Not as much as I love the original, it doesn't really touch the remake, does it? What science fiction generally addresses in real world politics and things like that is that, you know, there are always two sides to every story, and it's very important that, you know both of these sides before you come to make a decision. And I think that's important in the real world as well. I wasn't massively pleased with Dark Knight Rises, if I'm honest. And there was not anywhere near enough actual Batman in it, and it was a bit meandering, and it's hard to say now. I'm on the spot, but I know I watched it and I came out feeling quite empty.
Let's have a look at this piece of paper. It might look like a very childish drawing, but actually it's a very clever representation and indeed criticism of the film The Dark Knight Rises. If we look there, we can see we have a kind of 60s hippie man, which suggests that the ending was too much like the original Batman film that was produced in the 60s with the bomb and all that kind of stuff. Here, we have some Mars bars and too many Mars bars. So that kind of shows how there were too many villains in the film. Too much of a good thing. Mars bars are a good thing. And here, we have Batman, but he's too far away. Again, suggesting that the film didn't focus enough on Batman, that he was too far away.
Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb.
Obviously, one of the interesting things about criticising a film like Batman is that Batman isn't actually real. So who's going to get upset about it? Like, oh, is the Penguin going to get upset about it? Is Man-Bat going to get upset about it? No, he's not, because he's not real. And they've never even put Man-Bat in one of the films, so I don't even know why I'm mentioning to begin with. I doubt many of you even know who Man-Bat is. You think I've just said Batman the wrong way around, but it's not wrong. Man-Bat is a real character. Go and have a look if you don't believe me. But watch this first. So like, let's take Christian Bale, for example. He must have, through all the money he's made through Dark Knight, Batman Begins, Dark Knight Rises, actually be able to make literally a wall out of money and fans. And I do use that word quite specifically. I mean, he could literally get like loads of 2p pieces and kind of make rows of them and then smush the occasional fan in and make like a kind of big igloo, like a big money and fan igloo, which people could shout at, and he wouldn't be able to hear what they were saying because there would be so much stuff in between. And that is the danger of criticism, is that we can end up with a Christian Bale money igloo that people are just shouting.
What don't you get about it?
I was looking at the light.
Oh, good for you. And how was it? I hope it was fucking good, because it's useless now, isn't it?
I think there are some positives to criticism as well. Like, let's take the programme Top Gear. Now, obviously, I don't really like Top Gear, but a lot of people do like Top Gear. But that doesn't mean they can drive. That sounds really weird. But let's think about that for a second. Top Gear could actually be watched by people who have never driven a car in their lives. And that sounds really bleak, but it's actually a very positive thing, because it shows that criticism does have a point. You don't ever need to have made a film to criticise something, just in the same way as you don't need to have driven a car to watch Top Gear.
That's it for this programme and for this series. Why don't you come to England, though, this summer, because all the birds have got great tits. Look at this. That's it for this programme and indeed for this series, but we'll see you soon for more Top Gear on BBC World. That's it for this programme and indeed this series.
So in summary, everything you do will ultimately be pointless. That's the most important thing to get out of today. Everything you achieve will eventually one day go away. So if you really enjoy film criticism, why not do it? If you don't enjoy film criticism, don't do it. Either way, it all goes to zero in the end.
Well, you know, that's just like your opinion, man.